What's up, guys? I'm back with a quick market update. This is an emergency video because I know there's a lot of people out there right now just FOMOing into crypto. They've heard from somebody that crypto's exploding, or they had a few coins left over from the last bull run. They saw it's going up, so they're loading up more. A lot of people that's been out of crypto the last few years are starting to come back in little by little, and this will keep going. The FOMO will get crazy over the next couple of months. But for right now, what you need to know, it looks like we're getting a little bit of a minor correction or pullback. This is Bitcoin's daily time frame. You can see this huge wick right there on that candle. And now it looks like we're starting to break down a little bit. Now, I don't think this is anything to worry about too much. On Bitcoin, we could come test this 20-day moving average, which also lines up with this fair value gap. So somewhere below 115,000, I think, is the most likely scenario. Anywhere from 112 to 115, that's the most likely scenario for Bitcoin. Worst case scenario, we come all the way back down around 110,000 and possibly just tap this little yellow line here. There's a small fair value gap here. But I'm thinking we will get a strong bounce off that 20-day moving average, just because this is the final wave of the bull run, and I just don't expect any real deep pullbacks for Bitcoin at this point. But anything's possible, so don't get your hopes up. Another thing, Ethereum, we saw the altcoins pump like crazy. This is the daily time frame. So for the last couple of weeks, Ethereum went straight up. And anybody with experience knows that this cannot continue forever. So a pullback is likely. So we could grind a little higher. We could go up there and tap that $4,000 or $4,100 level, but we will need a pullback at some point. So when you zoom in on the 4-hour time frame, it looks like we're starting to get a pullback now. We've got that little head and shoulders kind of pattern there. And we are right now, as I'm making this video, starting to break down below this little support line here. So it looks like Ethereum could be headed for this 20-day moving average. So that would be somewhere around like 36, maybe right at 3,700, 37 even. Or I think we might possibly even get a deeper pullback for Ethereum, just because after a massive run like this, a pullback's needed. So this is what I'm looking at. These are my current theories, or what I think could be possible for how we get a pullback on Ethereum. Most likely scenario, in my opinion, we pull back to around 32 to 3,300 and then continue up. But like I said, we could grind all the way to like 4,000, maybe tap 4,100 or something first, and then pull back. That's possible. Or we can just pull back from right here where we are. If we're going to continue to 4,000 before getting this pullback, then I think we could at least have a little tiny pullback and touch this 10 or 9 EMA. I think that's a 10 EMA. But either way, that orange moving average, exponential moving average, I think we could just wick down and tap that, then possibly grind to 4,000 and then have the bigger pullback. But it's possible that we go ahead and pull back to this first fair value gap here at 32 to 3,300. Worst case scenario, we pull back like this red line I have here, all the way back down to around 27 or 2,800. That's possible, but I don't think that's as likely at this point. But you know, be aware. So if you have just recently downloaded the Coinbase app, or just hopped on your Coinbase or Robinhood and you haven't been on there in a few years, and you're just all of a sudden FOMOing in, just know that this is what the chart looks like, and nothing about this chart makes me want to just load up at this point. We will pull back. We just don't know when exactly or exactly how much. But a pullback will be coming at some point. I've been saying this in my last couple of videos, and it will happen. So Hop over to the Doge chart. We've been pumping like crazy. We could go a little higher. We could hit 30 or 34 cents. We could just grind slowly up there and then pull back. But either way, these are my possible scenarios for Dogecoin. Either we go a little higher and then pull back to this white line at 22 cents or somewhere around there, or we just pull on back to 22 cents right now. Excuse me. Or worst case scenario, we follow this red path and retrace all the way back down to 17 or 18 cents. Not as likely, but possible. Shiba Inu, we just finally broke above that 200-day moving average. That blue line just barely got above that, but we may not hold above it. If this pullback actually happens right now, we could pull back and we could bounce right off that 200-day moving average. That is possible, but we could also just break back below it, test this 20-day moving average here. We could even follow this red path in the worst case scenario, retest this fair value gap, and then continue on. Pepe coin, what a run for Pepe. We could pull all the way back to this 200-day moving average. VWAP is right there too, that white line. So we could tap into this fair value gap, or we could just pull back to that purple line, the 20-day moving average, and then continue up from there. So that would be at the white line or maybe a little below. But, if you don't have these things on your charts, you may want to look up, a little tutorial, how to set up your charts. This blue line is the 200-day moving average. That's very important. Purple line, 20-day moving average. That's very important for the shorter term. And then that's either the 9 or 10 EMA. Sometimes I use both depending on which asset I'm trading, but I don't remember which one this is. So they're very helpful because you can see that when we're extremely bullish, we're staying above those. And then as price action starts to curve over and go sideways, oh, there's an alert for SHIB. We must be dropping. So Pepe's probably about to drop more too. Move my alert down. Adjust these alerts just a little bit real quick. And okay, if I can get that one. There we go. All right, my alerts are set. Save that. All right, but like I was saying, if we're going up in a straight line and we're not going sideways much at all, and we're staying above these moving averages, these EMAs, it's a very bullish sign, and the trend and the probabilities are in your favor. So you want to go with that. But after a big move up, we do get little pullbacks. As you can see here, even on the downside, we had strong pushes down, staying below those EMAs, but we do pull up and bust through them. We have these little pullbacks and corrective waves on the way up and the way down. So the rest of this bull run is going to be massive, but it's not going to be just a huge straight line up. There's going to be pullbacks, especially when you zoom in on like the 4-hour time frame. So right now on Pepe, the 4-hour time frame, yeah, it's looking like we're about to drop. That's a strong bearish 4-hour candle right here, and it looks like it's going to push on through that 20-day moving average right there, or the 20 moving average on the 4-hour. I don't think that's actually set for the daily, no. So we could come down to this EMA here, the orange line. We could come down to this 20-day moving average, this purple line. So beware. If you just recently bought in, you might be sitting in the red for a few days, possibly even a week or two. But over the long term, I'm still extremely bullish. I think it's just a matter of time before we get this little pullback out of the way, and then we explode to the upside. Let's go to the weekly time frame. This is Ethereum's weekly time frame right here. Extremely, extremely bullish. Last week's candle was huge with huge volume. So we'll probably just retrace some of this bullish candle, this blue candle that's popping up here. We could very easily pull all the way back to that fair value gap and wick right back up. So for anybody that hasn't entered yet, you know, just wait, because we could get a move down and then spike right back up. So if you set some orders down here in these areas, you know, set some ladder orders in down here, you know, you could have some really good entries and catch this next huge wave up. So this is not financial advice, but I just want to throw this out there for anybody that's been FOMOing in. You know, just be aware, you might be sitting in the red for a few days, possibly even a couple of weeks. You know, when the chart's looking like this, just straight up, you know, that's not usually the best time to be buying in. Yeah, it could go a little higher, but either way, before it, or by the time it corrects, before it makes the next move up, you're going to be sitting in the red for a little bit. So if you went in too big with your position, you know, you might be sweating and stressing out the next few days. That's part of it. Just learn, take it as a lesson, learn to read these charts and do better on the next time. But subscribe to the channel, like this video, and I'll do another update maybe tomorrow or the next day once I see if this pullback is actually starting. And if so, then I'll just keep an eye on it and see how far I think we're going to pull back as the chart plays out. And if we get a big enough pullback, I'll be loading up on some more crypto. So thanks for watching. I hope this video helps some people. Until next time, peace out.